Guess I am live. Let me just, I need to share something. Um, the links need to be shared, Jen. Okay. Well, if anybody joins, this might be good. See, we have still no viewers. So, what can I do in the meantime? Does this work? No. I really wish you can use StreamYard with music. It feels very silent this way. I'll play some music on my own, at least in the back end. Cool. Hello, we have somebody online. Hello and welcome to this Ask Me Anything thing on stream. This is actually ran by all the AWS developer advocates from EMEA. Currently, it's only myself here, but it's usually a couple of us here sitting and discussing things. I might have Kobus join me later on, so we'll see. So far, it's me here to entertain, answer questions, and drink some coffee. That's very cool. So while I do that, hey Slobo, hi. We have Slobodan Stojanovic on stream. He is our AWS serverless hero. I had Slobodan on one of my other streams last week, yes. It was fun. We had a local language stream where we discussed serverless and a whole lot of different things. So good to see him on stage as well, on stream as well. Is the audio good? I guess it's okay. I have not had a chance to test it out. I literally just jumped into the stream. The problem was my local internet completely went haywire. I was like 15 minutes without internet at home, which is it's a 21st century horror story apparently. So I want to try to find something to talk about while people are joining in or coming in here. So, by the way, this channel belongs to the Cloud Builders. Thank you, Sloboda. This channel belongs to the AWS developer advocate community in EMEA. So this is where we try to upload videos on some tech, and we do these streams normally here. Hey, Graham. Yeah, there is Twitch today, but that's on my channel. So on my Twitch channel, which is a different one than this one, it's in even different YouTube channel. So my stream is going to happen at 6 p.m. today normally. So for those of you who have been with me yesterday on Twitch, I've been playing around with CloudFormation, building stuff from scratch. So I'm gonna be keep doing that today as well. So hope you have enjoyed all of that. Now, in the meantime, I've been struggling with uploading said recording to YouTube because for some reason YouTube doesn't like that recording. Yeah, so yeah, for all the Darko fans out there, join me at 6 o'clock today at my own Twitch channel. So it's not this one; it's the other one. This is just something we do. Again, a lot of channels, a lot of confusion. So hope it's not too confusing. Let me have a look. Graham, I might use the situation to answer your question. You've posted a question to me some time ago on Twitter about You're interested in building an EC2 proxy server using Nginx to route traffic to an RDS instance. The reason behind this is, if I understand correctly, you cannot whitelist, you can only whitelist IP addresses and not DNS names. Is that correct? Do you want me to address that? Yeah, so here's a question. Does RDS proxy support IP addresses? That's my question. Have you had a chance to look at RDS proxy? The service RDS proxy? Because that is a service that can actually, let me just console. Let me log into my AWS console so I can have so we can share a screen. Passwords. Okay, so I'll check this out because we have a service called RDS proxy, which is basically a proxy service for well, RDS, right? So it's something similar you wish to achieve. It's a kind of a fully managed service, but let me see, RDS. Where's this service located at? I haven't even had a chance to look at it. Proxies, yes. RDS does not allow static IPs, but let's see if a proxy can have a static IP. So basically, a proxy will do the same thing as you want with Nginx, but instead it will be a fully managed thing. Now, I think it does not support static IPs as well. So I think this is also a CNAME based thing. So, so in your use cases where you have to use IP addresses, setting up a reverse proxy server or using something like Nginx is a solution. You just have to be very careful with that because you are having a single point of failure, right? By using Nginx as a reverse proxy, you have a single instance with a single IP address, and if that instance goes away, you lose connectivity completely. So this is the problem with whitelisting IP addresses, as you you might have some issues with high availability, right? Well, what would I use instead? I mean, so one of the things that I would definitely approach here is this. I mean, this is a problem. Let me actually just bring up this issue on screen. So the issue is that you can only provide IPs to a third party, and that is a problem. So IP addresses are the problem here. Now I don't know what do people do in these cases. I mean, the solution would be, hey, just don't provide them an IP. Try to get them a CNAME or something like that, or maybe an IP range. But this is not a solution, right? Okay, Slobodan is actually Slobodan may be able to answer. Slobodan is asking more information. Maybe Slobodan can also help out here. The thing with static IP addresses is a problem because this used to happen a long time ago as well, especially with all load balancers. So people would need to whitelist their load balancers on a third party or something like that, and load balancers did not have static IP addresses. Now you can have network load balancers with static IP addresses, right? But you cannot have an application load balancer with a static IP address. So this would be a potential problem. And where people would have to have a third-party service or somebody else requesting an IP address for whitelisting, right? And that's a relatively bad approach right now. So, but maybe Slobodan has more experience with this. To be honest, I have not had a chance to think about this kind of a thing. How can we solve this? So let me just I'll post Graham's questions here on screen as well. So. basically what just to kind of boil it down, what Graham wants is he wants to build an Nginx proxy to sit in front of an RDS instance or a bunch of RDS servers, just for the case of having a fixed IP address, so some other third party can put us in an allow list. That's the thing. RDS in itself cannot have an elastic IP address, or for failover, yeah. So it will always have just a specific IP address. Now, and Graham, here's the problem, because if you introduce an Nginx server, even if having that Nginx servers, you will have only a single Nginx instance with a single IP address, right? So it's not highly available. Let me just have one look here. Can we do AWS NLB proxy? Can we use network load balancers for proxy? Not TLB, but this is NLB. NLBs require, NLBs allow you to use static IP addresses, if I recall correctly. But would that be the solution here? So if I go to this thing, if load balancers, let's create a load balancer, network load balancers. Yeah, okay, so network load balancers can have static IP addresses, right? So you can define a static IP address for a load balancer. So this could be a solution, Graham, even if you are using, would you require a proxy for this? So Slobodan, what he wants is most likely some third-party service needs to access this RDS server, and they need to basically add the IP address of an RDS server to a whitelist, and that's the problem. Yeah, okay, so that's a fair point. Here's what Slobodan says. Building an API instead of exposing RDS. I mean, maybe Graham, maybe this could be a broader discussion on some additional re-architecting here, because instead of providing an RDS access to some remote service, maybe an API would work better, right? Like a translation layer. So for your application, instead of maybe AppSync can do something here, right? And also, Graham, is your application that wants to access this RDS server sitting in the in AWS, or is it like on an on-premises application that requires specific access to this? I'm trying to find a reason why there is a requirement. Yeah, exactly. If it's a third-party service, that would be a problem. If it is a third-party service trying to access the database, it will not solve the problem. Absolutely. So maybe Graham, we'll wait for your input here a bit more to see what kind of an exact thing here is. So maybe we can solve it, or at least give you a better insight. Because if it's internally, like if it's an internal share, don't do that. Go back. If it's an internal share of a database, then maybe we can approach it differently when it comes to whitelisting. If it is with a third-party service, do you want to share your database with a third-party service? If it is something else, maybe you can build around an API around that and kind of abstract the database itself. Because I would unless it's super required, I would go away from using an Nginx proxy here, because again, you would have to build it, maintain it, and make sure it's highly available. So, and which is additional overhead for you on top of that. So it's possible people have done that, but it might not be the best thing in the world. the meantime, I'm just looking at something I did yesterday. So, by the way, for those of you who have joined my stream yesterday, here's the stack still up and running. Um, it's horrible, but it works. So while we wait, maybe we can have another thing. I've had a question from somebody. Um, one moment. I've received this question via some other means on code build. Okay, so people, a friend that I have, she had a problem with code build, and it was throwing out a 400 error when trying to do something, when trying to assume a role. Now, this could most likely be to the fact that the role is bad. So until I see that role, I cannot help. I was hoping that I may be able to help right now, but no. But yeah, looking at code build, you need to give your code build projects permissions to do something. So if I go here, the things we can see on the settings, nope, where is it? Build project, build details. We can see the service role. Now, when doing a service role for code build, there's a couple of things you need to do. First of all, you give it permissions, right? This is the standard permissions, what the actual code build service can do. So when you launch a code build container, what is the thing that it can do? In my case, everything that runs on code build can actually work with CloudWatch logs, S3 buckets, create bucket, grid object, some basic things, right? But also, you need to set up a trust relationship. So you need to give permissions to code build to actually assume this role. So if you would just create a role without this trust relationship, or use a like EC2 here, this would not work. So if you're listening, if you're here, this could be the problem. But you may not be here. How can I share this YouTube link? Okay, so Graham says the third party provides data to the database. Graham, are they writing these things directly into the database? This could be a talk about security. Is this the most secure way? Of course, you have your NDAs and agreements with that third party, but maybe an entry point for these things could be a solution, not just writing it. Do they write it raw in the database? Just use SQL and write it to a database, or is it somehow different? Yeah, API sounds interesting. So if you would create an API, a third-party facing API that would receive their data, basically just expose it to them, and they would send that data to them to that API, and that API would handle the translation of that data to a database, right? So think of it as a relatively simple API gateway with some way to regulate on how who can connect to it by some means of authentication, or some again allow listing or deny listing, and then have that third party, instead of dumping raw SQL data, just make a dump to an API call, an API endpoint, and then your API layer will translate those things into a database. This would be much more secure. And at the end of the day, you give them an API, then you can handle that data any way you want. So you have no potential problems of them writing something differently into the database because you are actually handling the writing of that data to a database. Definitely would be more secure. I wish I had my colleague Steven here on and then he can explain why it is actually more secure than this. Let me just do something. I want to do this. Yeah, so let me just put this answer on screen. So thank you, Slobodan. See, AWS heroes. They know a lot. Again, Graham, this is not an easy solution to just kind of build right now. It's relatively simple, but it would definitely be the best way to go forward. You can also use API Gateway to S3 directly, so you don't even have to have a Lambda function present there. So you can have just them directly write to S3 through an API Gateway, and then do whatever you want with said data that you receive. So this could be a very interesting way to approach this. So, any questions from the audience? Would really like to see if anybody has more questions for me to answer. Otherwise, I'll just go banter on some things that are maybe not interesting to you. So, or I can complain how my how my internet died at home. So. Or, let me have a look. Maybe we can look at some new recent announcements. IVS. What is IVS? This is a new service launched yesterday, I believe. It's a managed live streaming solution. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so I've heard of this, but I've not actually had a chance to view it. Okay, so it's a streaming service with something. Ah, okay, wow. Okay, hey Slobodan, you have a question here. Tell us more about app config. I've been actually dealing with app config in the past week or so for some reason, and I've been doing a video which I am hopefully to upload today. Depends if YouTube listens to me. So app config, it's a very interesting service. It's a service for application configuration or configuration management per se, but it's more focused on applications. Let me actually show you an example of this. I have in my GitHub page here, I have actually built this thing yesterday and I'm about to upload a code shots video today. So you will see it all in the video a bit more explained. So if you want to view later on, but here's a great example. So I've created a serverless application here with CDK, and it has a simple Lambda function that just, so it has a single Lambda function. It has a API gateway, nothing else, nothing special. It's a super simple it's a super simple application that just returns something, right? Now, I've created basically the ability to have two stacks of this of this application, so you can create both a production stack and a staging stack with CDK. Now, there's a couple of differences between those two, and those differences are actually handled by app config. So looking back at my CDK code here, we see that I'm basically just passing some different variables or different parameters to my Lambda functions, depending on which environment they're launched in. So if it's prod, API name is prod, that's fine. But then the Lambda variables are something special. They're something related to config, and I'll get into that. So we can see that we're passing those things as environment variables to Lambda. Once I get into the Lambda function, if I go here and then open up the Lambda function, which is horribly written in Python, I apologize. So this Lambda function actually just returns a whole bunch of quotes. It's super simple. It just returns an arbitrary amount of quotes in its response. So its response is actually a timestamp, an environment, and that data. And the data in this case is just a random sample of the quotes. Now, the way I handle configuration here, or basically features, I'm using app config as a feature toggle here. So depending on what information I get back from app config, I decide how many items to return, in which language to return it, or do I enable chaos on my application or not. So if you're a fan of chaos engineering, here I have enabled random chances, or, well, 20% chances of my application crashing, so when it's run. So how does this actually work? If I go to app config, it's actually in Systems Manager. If I go here, you can see that I have an application. Now, an application in app config is a kind of a logical grouping of configuration parameters and environments. So if I go to Lambda demo, which is an application, you can see that I have two environments. I have prod and staging. And those environments basically contain different versions of configuration profiles. And what is a configuration profile? Well, I have created a configuration profile here called the Lambda limiter. And this configuration profile, in essence, contains this configuration. Right? See here that we have bool enable limit results, int limit results, language, and chaos. So where is this actually? This is in fact sitting in a parameter store. I know it's complicated. So it's sitting in parameter store, and we have this JSON file or JSON document that says basically, let me just move this. It says these are the configurations. So these configuration items are able to be received by my application. Now, my application does not directly request these from parameter store, but in fact, it requests it from app config. So it basically tells app config, hey, can you give me, can you please provide me the configuration information from this application, from this environment, and this configuration itself? And then app config basically returns those items, and then I do with it what I want. So, and why would I do this compared to just putting this into CDK and doing it through, Lambda variables? Well, at scale, it gets more complex to manage these things. And if I want to quickly enable a feature or do like a small feature toggle here, it's much faster for me to do it through app config, because one of the things I can do here is I can make a change to Systems Manager. For example, I come here and change this value. For example, let me change this to true, and then int result limit will be 7. Language will be Serbian or Serbo-Croatian, and I'll leave chaos as false. Now I've changed this value now in parameter store, but instead of this thing being applied automatically right now, I can go to my Lambda staging environment and say, hey, please deploy this new configuration version, see a different version of that parameter, and do it to 50% every 30 seconds, right? It has like a canary style, or it has a linear or canary style deployments of these configurations to your application. So if I do this, click start deployment, now in a roughly 3 minutes, this is like a demo example, but in roughly 3 minutes, this thing will be available to my application. So if I go to cloud formation, and where is it? It's in staging, outputs. If I go here, and, or wait, go back and open it like that, you can see here that it's currently, it's in Lambda stage. I get output in English, and I only get 2 items here, right? So if I keep on refreshing this, if once this deployment has been actually completed, once this thing here goes through it all, it's still deploying. It's still not yet, because there's like a baking period where it waits for it to be completely finished. But after a while, there we go. We have the configuration changed. I have the output here in Serbian or Croatian or Serbo-Croatian, and it's 7 items out here, but it's still the staging environment. So I've pushed this change to my applications in just that amount of time. So instead of pushing the entire code base through a pipeline. So I think it's a pretty interesting thing, pretty neat service. You have to think about, where is this useful? Maybe in a single Lambda function application or a very simple thing, this could be a bit more overhead than you actually want. But on complex applications, and not just serverless applications, on general applications that you have, this might be a big save if you want to enable features, or even just do things like as allow or deny lists would be a great approach for this thing. And yeah, and IVS that Slobodan mentioned, it's interesting. It's Twitch as a service apparently. I have not tried it out, but it looks like Twitch is a service. Interesting. What's the pricing on this one? Okay, there's a pricing thing, full definition, blah, blah, blah. Price per hour. Okay, so it's a paid service. Again, this is something very specific for maybe not public consumption, but I'm still trying to figure out what this is. It's a managed live streaming solution that is quick and easy to set up, ideal for creating interactive video experiences. Pricing and limitations on app config. Let's have a look. Oh, you mean like on this thing? Yeah, it's there is a cost. Like here's a pricing example. I think it's is it per viewer? Yeah, there is something per viewer. Yeah. So here's a great example. Full output for North America, 2 hours, 50 viewers, $15, right? So it's not Twitch, right? It's not Twitch is free, right? But this is a great live streaming solution if you want to live stream to a massive audience. So I'm still not sure how this works. I am still yet to see usage examples of this. But maybe they're explained in the initial thing. So Blackboard serves millions of customers. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is a very new. Oh, app config pricing. Wait, I can tell you. I think it's. Okay, here it is. So it's per getting configuration items calls, right? So it's a weird pricing thing. I've actually talked with the product manager for app config. You pay for get configuration API call, right? There's a 2 cents per 1 million get configuration API calls, but also the amount of times you receive a configuration. So what does this actually mean? Yeah, so you also pay. It's a weird thing. You pay for when you request a configuration, and you also pay for when you receive a configuration. So I don't know, right? I really don't know how this functions. Assume you have one application that application configuration that updates 3 times a day. There's 2,000 targets in your fleet that are calling this every 2 minutes to check if an update configuration is available. Each time an updated configuration is available, AppConfig sends an updated configuration response to the API call. So that's the difference. So a get configuration call is one thing, but if there is an actual change to configuration and you receive a new change to the configuration, um, you are charged. If there is no change to the configuration, you are not charged. So I think that's the way it works. So yeah, again, very interesting to see if this is worth it on what scale. So this is where the discussion comes in. How much does this service or this feature actually help you in your workload? Does it actually remove a lot of the heavy lifting, or is it just another layer of complexity that you potentially do not need? So and that comes to all services. You have to think about, really, does a service X really help out with your workload, with your application? So otherwise, maybe just ignore it. But I would still give it a try. I depending on what you do and what kind of configurations, how many configurations do you ship out. And I saw a great tweet by Richard Boyd today, where he actually used app config to store the Lambda code. So it's a great thing. Basically, what he did is he let me try to find this. It's great. Yeah. So he he basically took um, a call to app config, and instead of getting the configuration, he literally just got the code. So he just ran an exec or execute the configuration code, and it worked. So you can do this, yeah, I guess. Slobodan asks, can it help with A/B testing? Well, so I mean, as long as you have different environments, basically you deploy to different environments, different configuration items, absolutely. On top of this, there's other features here which I have not shown here. For example, where is it? If you look at the configuration details here, and I can add validators. So validators are a feature from AppConfig that can actually validate, is your configuration okay? So number one, it can just use generic JSON schema validation to validate if a certain parameter is of a certain value. Is it an int? Is it a string? Is it whatnot? Or you can go an extra mile and use Lambda validators. And Lambda validators are basically more advanced code logic to do certain things on app config, on your configuration. So it gives you an extra layer of control over those things. So yeah. And as for A/B testing, yeah, I guess so. I mean, depending on how you do your testing, but you can basically change these parameters or use different values of these parameters, or invoke a change in configuration in a very quick time, because you're not making a change to the application code. You're not pushing anything to the application itself. The application is just referencing a new change in the configuration storage. So if you're using parameter store as a location for application configurations, you might want to check app config on top of that to give you a bit more control on how you actually make those changes to applications. So doing an AMA by myself is not fun. I was supposed to have Kobus here, my other bald bearded brother, but yeah, he's not around, so I miss him. Where are you, Kobus? Come back to the stream. He's gonna watch this one day and regret it, but okay. So let's have a look. What else is new on AWS? Is there something new we can talk about? Something that's fun. Courses, Elasticsearch destination service catalog is now available in this region. There's a new version of Corretto. Okay, so this is something I really want to check out. So I don't know what this is. Like, I saw the news yesterday or the day before that CDK there's a CDK pipelines preview. So I really don't know what this is. It's a construct library for CDK that makes it easy to set up simple and complex continuous delivery pipelines with code pipeline. So it's basically the same thing I did on Stream, but with CDK now and much, much faster. So I'll definitely have to check this out because it is, yeah, it's a developer preview. So it's a construct that says my pipeline stack. Okay, we just define a source artifact, cloud assembly artifact, and pipeline. Okay. Interesting. I'll have to play around with this thing. So, should be fun. Is this like just a construct for itself, right? Let's see the blog post. Also, there's a new thing for CDK, for all the CDK lovers. There's a preview of CDK for Terraform. Apparently now you can generate Terraform stuff with CDK. So for people who have asked me, should you use Terraform or CDK? Yes. So how does this work? CDK pipelines. Okay, this is just a Lambda application. Okay, now the new Lambda. Defining an empty pipeline would be service. Okay. Okay, I know. I need to get into this a bit more deeper. I cannot just have a look at it like on screen live. But yeah, it builds a pipeline, apparently. My service pipeline. I mean, you could have done this all most likely manually through just your CDK code, just creating all the elements manually, but this might make it simpler. Maybe, I don't know. So, AWS community, what bothers you? What can I answer? What can I talk about? Is there something you would like to see on upcoming streams and videos and whatnot? So yeah, to shill my own stuff right now. Today at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Central European time, which is GMT plus 2. I will be doing a stream on my own channel on Twitch, which is there. I sent the message. I will be doing it there on topic of CloudFormation. So if you've seen me do it yesterday, where I built the CloudFormation stack from scratch, and it was a very new experience for me because it was completely raw and unscripted. Nothing was prepared. I literally just dove into doing stuff on with CloudFormation. So basically, it was a stream. It was a 2-hour stream of me trying CloudFormation, looking at documentation, fixing, troubleshooting problems. So it was pretty fun. I had a lot of interaction from the audience, so it was really cool. And I plan to continue on that today at 6 and to kind of finish it all up and, well, make something out of that pipeline now that it exists. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's interesting. Marin asks, can you mix CloudFormation Terraform with CDK? I don't think so. As far as I know, the new CDK for Terraform, I believe it actually it generates Terraform code, so it doesn't generate CloudFormation code. So that's the thing. Again, Cloud Development Kit is basically going to be just a Cloud Development Kit that will produce Terraform at the end of the day. Let me see if there's a great example of this. So that's all CDK, CDKTF sent. Yeah, so it basically produces, um, generates a Terraform out file. Then you can do Terraform init, Terraform plan, and that's it. So it will not actually do uh, both CloudFormation and this. Now, maybe you can do, maybe I think you can use the same CDK code because in general there should be maybe some slight differences. For example, you can see here CDKTF, right? It might be slightly different than using the vanilla CDK, but in general, everything else, your code will be the same if it's for AWS. So it's another abstraction. It's an abstraction layer on top of it. So you can, in essence, use the same code to generate both things, but you cannot, just do it at the same time. I think it's a pretty cool thing. Having a very abstracted way of doing infrastructure as code might get people more into infrastructure as code, especially because a lot of folks who are doing architecture and infrastructure right now are coming from a developer background or have some development experience with some of the things when it comes to especially these languages such as Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, or Java, or C# or F#. So I see this as a great way to kind of enable those people to do more, especially if you're afraid of Terraform or doing JSON and YAML and things in CloudFormation. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna definitely jump into this to see, but I'm waiting for Cobus. Cobus is my Terraform person. Cobus loves Terraform, so I want to talk with him and talk Terraform and CDK at the same time. So it's at one of our other streams happening on Monday, I believe. We're going to try to touch on this topic as well. Okay, well, I think I'll slowly wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining. It was my first time running this AMA live on this channel. So this AMA will happen every Friday on this channel as well. So if you're interested, feel free to join. It's not always going to be me. It's most likely going to be multiples of us. Today it was the one situation where it was just me. Do join us. There's going to be multiple AWS developer advocates from all over EMEA. So Cobus, Dennis, Marcia, Steven, whole bunch of us. We are actually here, and we're here to answer your questions and hopefully be entertaining at the same time. Thank you once again. I will be seeing you back on the same place at the same time next week. I think I will be here, together with somebody else. But yeah, for today, shilling my own content, 6 p.m. Join me at my other Twitch thingy. I'll see you there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.